Bricks and Minifigs is your one-stop shop for all things LEGO. Hit the link below to find a store near you.
It's been 10 years since we last got a large-scale X-Wing from LEGO, and now in 2023 we have the newest iteration of one of the most iconic ships in Star Wars. But how does this new version hold up, and is it actually worth getting? Hey everyone, I'm Adam, aka Ant Bandit, and welcome back to another Beyond the Brick review, where today we're taking a look at the Ultimate Collector Series X-Wing. This is of course the third iteration of this ship at this scale, with the first X-Wing being the one to launch the entire UCS line when it released 23 years ago back in the year 2000, which is really cool to think about when you see just how far the design of these big Star Wars models has come. This new version has 1,949 pieces and will release on May 1st, 2023 for LEGO VIPs, May 4th for everyone else, at the retail price of $240. Now, this will be an interesting review video because I have such mixed feelings about this model. On one hand, there are some great details here that are major upgrades from the previous versions that look incredible, and on the other, there are some design choices that I'm not a fan of at all, and honestly make me question whether or not I would personally be adding this to my own collection. But we're gonna get into all of that later on in this video. We'll cover all the details in depth so that you can make that judgment for yourself whether or not this is a set that you want to be picking up. As always, big thanks to LEGO for sending this set over early to us for review. All of the thoughts and opinions here are my own. Now let's take a quick look at the packaging. We get your standard issue UCS black box, but the pose of the X-Wing on the front is an homage to how the original looked with it angled to the side. And even though that's a cool Easter egg, this photo doesn't do it justice. It looks so much better once it's built and in person. I feel like the picture on the back of the box actually gives you a better idea of how this looks, but it's still nice to see LEGO paying tribute to that original X-Wing. Inside we have the instructions, and on the cover we have what doesn't look like a 3D render of the model anymore. This looks identical to the photo on the front of the box, and with that shading underneath, it definitely looks a lot better, which is great to see. The instructions also feature your typical amount of background info about the ship, some behind the scenes photos, concept art, and some words from the design team. There are some oddities in the instructions manual though, like where they say the X-Wing is 12.5 meters long, but the display plaque says it's 13.4, and then we also get these two photos where the designer is showing off how to hold the model, but I think this page is missing a check mark and an X because holding it by the wings like he's doing in the photo definitely feels like the incorrect way to do that. So it's not really communicated clearly enough. Let's get into two of the great things that LEGO did with this set, which are the two minifigs that are included. First up, we have the most detailed and best version of Luke Skywalker in his pilot outfit that LEGO has ever produced. He has updated torso printing and, for the first time ever, arm printing along with dual molded legs. He does have an alternate expression with his visor raised, and you also get his lightsaber. Personally, I would love to see this figure show up in future sets as the definitive look for the flight suit, but for now this is a great exclusive figure to include in this set. You can put Luke on the display stand, but the placement here is a bit awkward with him covering up some of the details on the plaque. And you can't have a LEGO X-Wing set without R2-D2, and while this figure isn't new, it's still great to see him here because he has back printing, which so far he's only had in one other set, which is the trash compactor diorama. Now, while there is room for you to place R2 in the back of the X-Wing behind the cockpit, this just ends up looking really awkward with how different the proportions are and how out of scale minifigures are with UCS. I feel like LEGO should have definitely gone for a different approach from the minifig. Something like a specialty printed dome piece like they've done in the past would have looked so much more accurate in scale. Now let's take a quick look at our display stand, and you can see overall that the assembly is very simple. It's reminiscent of that original stand included in the first X-Wing, but with one big difference. We have our very first printed display plaque. Yes, printed, which looks really good. No more big sticker mistakes as you try to struggle and place that on a big tile. My only minor gripe is that you get a noticeable sprue mark in the center of the plaque, which LEGO themselves have even photoshopped out of some press images, which is not a good look. But overall, it doesn't bother me that much, and I'm really happy to see printed display plaques moving forward in UCS. The stand fits snugly into the underside of the X-Wing, but keep in mind there are two curved slope pieces here that are almost guaranteed to pop off every time you put weight on it. Thankfully, they're not integral to the strength of the stand, but it's still an annoying thing to deal with. You can either face the X-Wing forward with the nose pointing up, or you can turn it to the side and have it leaning away from the plaque. Now, let's move on to the ship itself, starting with the cockpit. We have a brand new printed element for the canopy piece. If you built the older X-Wing, you'll remember that this used to be decorated with stickers, which was really frustrating, and this is a much better looking alternative. Inside the cockpit, you can see the stickers that are used to decorate some of the HUD and controls, along with the joystick, the pilot seat, and the movable targeting computer. Then we have the nose of the model, and it's considerably wider than previous versions of the UCS X-Wings, due in part to all of the internal building techniques used to create these subtle tapered angles. However, it's not without some unsightly gaps and exposed studs, which to me would look much better completely tiled off for a more modern UCS look. Also, I feel like a light gray color instead of white would have looked much better for the tip of the nose, but it does match the overall look of the ship more, so I understand why it's here. Here's a look at the engines, which are also much larger than previous LEGO versions, but are more proportionally accurate to what you see in the films. LEGO even created a new curved element for the front of the engines here that looks really great, and you get a total of 16 of these in the set. There are some 2x2 tiles wedged between studs to create that T-shaped look on the front of the engines, and these pieces definitely tend to be easily knocked out whenever you pick it up and move it around, so just keep that in mind. There's some great greebling and detailing on the top and back of the ship, and I really like these angled panel pieces that make up that iconic rear silhouette of the X-Wing. Just don't look too hard into those gaps between the wings where you can see that exposed Technic mechanism that opens and closes the X-foils, which you can activate by rotating this knob on the top of the ship. The mechanism itself does work fairly well, with the wings opening quickly and locking in place. The wings are still loose and have some wiggle room, but generally that's fine for display purposes. However, I do take issue with how the bottom wings look like when they're closed. You can see they suffer from some serious drooping just underneath the weight of all those pieces. You can see how unlevel they are with the upper wings, and it would have been great to see a stronger locking mechanism for the wings in a closed position in addition to an open one. The wings themselves do look good, with some texturing and coloring on the outside to indicate that this is Luke's Red 5 X-Wing. I like that the designers were able to keep the wings fairly thin while still showing off a good level of detail. There's even a new 4x8 inverted tile piece that smooths out some sections of the undersides. The laser cannons are another element I feel would look better in light gray as opposed to white, but we do get an interesting assembly that uses minifig flippers to represent the splayed tips of those cannons. Directly comparing this new version with the 2013 one, you can see that there are some significant upgrades when it comes to the overall design, the proportions and accuracy, and the building techniques that are used. However, there are some design elements that I feel like are missing from this newer version. Specifically, the lack of light gray coloring makes this new one feel so pristine, and it's missing that rugged, weathered feel that a Rebellion fighter usually has. Along with the width and design of that front nose with those noticeable exposed studs on the sides, I feel like it goes so far to have a smooth and clean look right around the cockpit where your eyes are drawn to this model. Even with all of those majorly positive changes, for me as a collector, I was left feeling a bit underwhelmed and unimpressed with this version. And that's not to say that it's a bad X-Wing in any way. It certainly comes with two amazing minifigures with that updated Luke Skywalker. It's a serviceable 2023 upgrade to the UCS X-Wing. If you don't already own a version of the X-Wing that you're happy with, or if you're new to building UCS scale and you want to get into collecting these, or if you just love X-Wings, I see those as great reasons to consider picking this set up. Personally, for myself, this is one UCS set that I don't see as a must buy, especially at that $240 price tag, when a price of $200 would have been a lot more ideal. But these are solely my opinions on the model. I would love to hear what you think about it. Let us know down in the comments. Do you hate it? Do you love it? Are you planning to pick it up when it releases on May 1st? Let us know down below. That's about it for this review. Once again, I'm Adam. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.